During one of the chats, my son's other friend, we'll call him F, is telling me that MH has something to do with it. And then that person is saying, no, I ain't had nothing to do with it. I didn't do anything. Because they can hear each other. I like I said, I had them on speaker. Somebody was on my daughter's phone on speaker, and we're trying to figure it out. I know the exact moment my son died because my heart stopped. Literally, it stopped. It felt like somebody took their hand and just squeezed my heart for about 5 seconds. And I know because I collapsed. I literally fell on the washing machine. Because I was in the laundry room. In my mother's house, there's a laundry room that leads to the outside. I went out there because I was trying to go to the car. And I collapsed on the washing machine. And I couldn't breathe. It literally took my breath and I couldn't breathe. And then I came back to. Mom finally came. Well, she left her phone. So I had to wait for her to come back. And I told her something happened. Something happened to him. And I had to go back home. It was bad. And she was trying to get me not to leave without her. And I couldn't. I knew something was wrong. And I was trying to get back to my kid. I get to an area called Darlington, South Carolina. And at this point, like 4 or 5 people done started calling my phone. One of them is the hospital. And I'm thinking they're asking me basic questions like they normally do when you have a family member, because I'm listed as his next of kin. So I'm thinking they're asking me questions about doing procedures on him. And no, that's not what they do. I told them I was out of town. I told them that I was driving. I told them I was on my way back to Charlotte. Instead of them just saying, ma'am, if you could just get here as quickly as you can, it's important. No, they proceed to tell me that my child is gone, that he didn't make it. And I had nobody in the car with me that was old enough to drive a car. And at first, I thought he was kidding, like he was playing with me. But no, he wasn't. I hear people in the background crying. And then I started crying. I started yelling and screaming and hollering. And I was by myself. The girls were in the back. They were hollering and screaming. And it was a mess. People were outside doing yard work because I pulled over in somebody's yard. And they didn't know what to do. And they never came up. They didn't do anything. And then I had to give my mom that phone call. And her grandson was gone. And I had to listen to her holler and scream. But she told me my scream was worse. And I've heard it a couple times because I've been up here. I've heard other stories. There's a lady whose son unalived himself. And they weren't sensitive either. She was driving, or her husband was driving, and they told her the same thing. And that noise is a certain sound that you make. It's a piercing sound that only a mom will make. That they care about their child and they're gone. I got that. It took me almost 4 hours to get back to Charlotte. I was a complete wreck. I was by myself. First stop I made was to my ex-husband's house. We were cordial at the time. And I know he wasn't really there for me. It was more for my daughter. But I needed somebody to help me out. Because at this point, I knew I had to go and identify my child. And the insensitive part was I still was getting phone calls about where you at, where you coming, how far are you, all of this stuff. And I'm just trying to process everything because it's happening so fast. So I finally get there. The child's dad gets there. And they took us to a waiting room. Because at this point, I was hoping